All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and joining us for today's webinar about boat cleaning stations and their role in raising awareness to help prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species in Pennsylvania. My name is Amy Jewett, and I am the Pennsylvania iMapInvasives Program Coordinator at the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy and the Pennsylvania Natural Heritage Program. So before we begin, I just wanted to mention just a few things. So today's presentation will be recorded, and that recording will be sent out to all of our webinar registrants after the webinar is concluded. Also, there is a Q&A feature that has been enabled, and all of our participants can use that Q&A to ask any questions that you might have anytime throughout the presentation. And then we'll take some time at the end to answer any questions that we have. So I'm very pleased to be joined today with our two guest presenters. We have Kate Harms. She is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Lake Management Society, and also Mark Morrison. He is the statewide public access program manager with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Kate to get our presentation started.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Today, we're going to be going over our pilot program of having this mobile CD3 unit to both educate and empower the boaters across Pennsylvania. As Amy said, my name is Kate Harms. I'm the Executive Director with Pennsylvania Lake Management Society. And if you haven't heard about Pennsylvania Lake Management Society, I put down our mission statement here. We are a small nonprofit. It's just me, and then we have 11 volunteer board members as well. So here's our mission statement. The Pennsylvania Lake Management Society's mission is to promote the further understanding of ponds, lakes, reservoirs, and impoundments in their watersheds, the ecosystem which they are part of, and their protection, restoration, and management. Again, just to get you familiar with who we are, some of the things we do is an annual workshop, an annual conference. The POMS annual conference this year will be the end of February in State College again. We do workshops as well and webinars like this. We do have a program called Seesaw with other partners throughout the state, and we do offer free technical assistance to lake groups, conservation districts, whoever needs more help with learning how to monitor their lake, check for aquatic invasive species, create volunteer monitoring programs, just getting organized, and overall general education that is free through this program that we've had funded for several decades now through DEP. We also do a mini grant program. We're in the middle of funding one now for about $200,000, but in the past few years, we've done 23 mini grants that totaled about $380,000. We do the Pennsylvania Lake Appreciation Month. We are on the Governor's Invasive Species Council, and just general support if you reach out to us. And we do fun annual awards, and then also we have our fact sheets and publications. All of this is on our website, palakes.org, if you did want to check out some of our resources. Getting into today's presentation, just to give you an overlook, this presentation will look at PA Lake Management Society's pilot program that uses the mobile CD3 units at public docks throughout Pennsylvania. Using its data collection system, we'll look at the reports, user data that can provide feedback to lake managers and educators on AIS prevention and user behavior. Information on other boat cleaning stations in the state will also be discussed. And then later, Mark Morrison with PA Fish and Boat Commission will cover the grant program that funded this unit and the state's new regulations for aquatic invasive species. So challenges that we see for lake managers and where do boat cleaning stations fit in is something that I'd like to just start the talk with. You know, if you're a lake manager joining us today, if you're with a conservation district, you know, whether you're a lake manager for the state, like a state park, or if you're just a private lake, you guys all face some of the same issues. The AIS infestations are a major problem for the lakes across the state. They are not expensive. They are expensive to manage and can reduce the use of the lake if not managed correctly. A lot of lakes notice that once they start getting a problem, if they're not controlling it, they will lose part of their open water to the infestation. So it's important that something gets done about it early on. Lake managers and lake communities look for effective ways to prevent AIS infestations in their lakes. One of the ways they can prevent this is to provide the education and or tools to encourage boater stewardship. However, they often lack the manpower to successfully run volunteer staffed boat steward stations. And we will talk about all these challenges more in depth later on. Access to water hookup and electric is needed for high powered equipment. So lakes that are lacking this infrastructure near their dock, where the people are going to be pulling their boats out, we can't have this infrastructure too far away because you might have lost their attention at that point to do the clean, drain, dry. But having that infrastructure near the docks, they can't immediately install power washer units then if they don't have that. And then the heated, high-powered equipment can be a liability to let the public use, so without training or supervision, so you basically need to have it manned. Other alternatives are the mobile units that they can put on trailers or deploy them when they need to, but again, that has to be manned. So the major challenges are money, infrastructure, and then staff or volunteers is some of the challenges that these lakes face to do these boat cleaning stations. Reasons why we looked into the CD3 unit. This is for us personally, as an organization that doesn't have a lake that we're tied to per se. We're just providing services for the Commonwealth. AIS infestations are very costly and difficult to manage, yet alone eradicate. The best plan of action is to prevent the introduction of AIS into our water bodies. But to do so can be challenging with a population of users that are unfamiliar with the process of clean, drain, dry, and drying boats, and the lack of infrastructure and equipment readily to do so. So we can go ahead and try to put these things in, but if we don't have the infrastructure and the people aren't educated to do the process, we're already at a problem with it. So lake managers and lake communities are always seeking ways to prevent the spread of AIS in their lakes that fit their capacity and their budget. Considerations and goals of this pilot program. Palms recognize the need for boaters to have access to tools, educational signage for preventing AIS spread. We explored the use of boat cleaning stations to help facilitate this. And then we considered that the PA decontamination has been unregulated for so long that there is the need for more education and overall behavior changes to do clean, drain, dry. That statement, I know Mark will get into a little bit later about the new regulations, but for a while, Pennsylvania has been behind on other states with regulating the decontamination at docks. The actual action of cleaning a boat for the first time and learning how to do it needs to be the first step. We felt by getting this unit out to these docks in the hands of the boaters or paddlers that it will spur both interest and behavior changes. By going with a mobile, self-reliant unit, it could be placed at any public dock without the restrictions mentioned earlier. So just to sum it up, we thought we needed to do education on how to do the process. And we knew if we were going to be putting it at any lake that didn't have the infrastructure, we needed to kind of find a way to do this without them having to have the burden of finding the infrastructure for a unit or the manpower. So we ended up going with the CD3 unit. The CD3, it's a brand name, and it stands for Clean, Drain, Dry, and Dispose. And this was first purchased in 2021 by Palms, but it was with a PA Fish and Boat Commission public access grant. And again, Mark will talk about later. This is a grant that had paid for the whole unit, and we had to do a match, one-to-one match for it as well at that time. In 2021, this unit was for about $30,000 with the unit's trailer, but no graphics. Now, the prices have increased since then, like everything else we know. So I'm just trying to be honest with what we paid back then, and then you'll see some more current numbers. The unit arrived in summer of 2021, and it went to 2 locations before the boating season ended because we got it pretty late in the season. And that winter, it got its custom graphics. So you're seeing it here with its custom graphics. Some slides, you'll see it without the custom graphics, so you can see what a change it makes. And that it's really is an attractive unit. So I'm going to go ahead and I believe here it is, an enlarged version. So I'm going to let you guys just look at this so you can see what the unit looks like a little bit more up close. You can see we did the graphics to it, simple messaging, stop the spread of invasive species, clean, drain, dry, boats, trailer, and gear. And if you look at it, you have here, they have a QR code all the way here to the left that you can go in with your phone into an app. And this is free. Anybody can put this on a post at a boat dock area for the boats to see how to do it. And it tells you the most common areas to clean, where you might find invasives attached to. It's a great little tool they have. So that's on the unit itself. Then you have the step one, and you're using this air blower here. Step two, then you're going to do more cleaning with the scrub brush, the plug wrench, and the reach grabber. And then step three, you're going to be draining things out. At the bottom, we chose to add some invasives to bring awareness to some of the ones that we have in Pennsylvania. So we chose those. This is, again, you can do it all custom. And obviously the big sign that says free to use is important because nobody wants to try something for the first time and having to pay for it. So I'll just let you guys take another second at that. All right. And then going over the tools again, you have your air hose with compressor for blowing off debris and drying. This is a waterless unit. This is not using water. You have a scrub brush, plug wrench, the grabber for hard to reach areas, and then a vacuum with holding tank to help suck up any water or debris. So there is a holding tank in it that you would access through the back of the unit. And it can hold, I think it's at least 55 gallons or more. I forget the exact number. But this is a unit before the graphics on it. So you can see the big difference. I'll go back that the graphics make. So we did go that way. And again, our main purpose was for education as well with this unit. Extra features, there's solar panels on it. So there is no hookup needed for it to run. You can plug it in though. It has lights on the top here and then even lights on the bottom area. When you drop the unit down, you can see the lights here at the bottom. And then levers and cranks for dropping it down to park. That kind of really helps it be level and stabilized. So you can make it more permanent, detach the vehicle, and just leave it there for however many weeks you want to use it. We have graphics on all sides to increase public education and attract more users. So here's the back side, a nice pretty picture. Everybody likes a clean boat and lake. Stop the invasives, again, clean, drain, dry, that stuff. And then on the end of it, on this picture here on the right, we even added clean your gear infographics. Some of you guys may be familiar with those and what they look like, talking about the most common areas to find invasive hitchhikers on your boat and where to clean. So I'll go over the pros and cons of this unit, and I will introduce a couple other units, but I'm hoping maybe you guys have heard of at least some boat cleaning stations prior to this webinar, but I will kind of go into some other ones that you may find in the state. If you go out of state, some of them get quite extensive and large scale, but we're talking about just here in Pennsylvania. So the pros and cons for this unit, and again, I'm not trying to sell you on the unit, I'm just explaining our pilot program with it, why we went with it. It's very educational, both in presence and graphics. So you guys could see from that picture, user-friendly. It does not need supervision. There's no labor cost for running it, just moving it. So whoever's going to move it from one dock to another. No electric hookup is needed. No water hookup is needed. It can still be used for brief, when you have some brief freezing temperatures. If the tank is low and it's not very full, you could still use it because you won't have to worry about anything freezing and bursting the tank. And the other stuff, like I said, it's a waterless unit. So there's little maintenance besides pumping it out, which you would do like you would for a porta potty. You would schedule somebody who you'd schedule for local porta potties to come and drain it out. And we haven't even had to drain. I know our Eastern unit hasn't even been drained all season. So it's, they don't fill up that quick. And there is little maintenance, except for, like I said, the winterizing. At the end of the year, we do try to cover it up. If it's going to be stored outside, we make sure we've checked on the air compressor, empty the tank, and then we put a cover on it. Pymatuning had stored ours inside last year, so we didn't have to go through all of that. So it depends if it's going to be parked outside somewhere for a long winter or not. They come with covers. And then the company is constantly working on outreach sources and has invested into their customer service. They're super helpful whenever we have problems. You really are dealing with the main people there. You're not getting put onto a customer service line. There's only so many people at this company. It's a small company, and they will work with you right away on any of your problems. And they're always creating new videos, new outreach materials, a whole suite of videos just to show you how to work your unit and how to maintain it and stuff. So the cons, you cannot do high pressure or heated water. So it really is best used for day boater areas. If you have invasives that need that hot water, this won't fit that scenario for it. It's more expensive up front, and that's looking at some of these other units. And it needs a data plan. So for what we use it for, it needs a data plan for the software that we get all this cool data I'm about to show you. And that is $1,200 a year. So, you know, we can look at some of the numbers in the next slides. I am going to note, though, they do have a unit that doesn't have the mobile capacity, and it is about $5,000 cheaper. And if you did not want your unit to have that data feature like we have it, then it would take another $2,000 off. And here's a picture of the unit they have with the base. It's the same unit, you just aren't having it on a trailer. So everything I just went over would be similar to it. And batteries are expected to last 5 to 7 years. We're on, I think we're getting close to being in our fifth season using the battery we're on, and we're fine yet with the voltage. It can get plugged in if you have to, but that's just some things also to keep you in mind, like what's the long-term expense on it. And it really is just that battery is the one thing that you might have to look at. Of course, if something was to be damaged with the air compressor or other things, you know, those would have to get fixed as well, like with any unit. So beyond the tools, so the unit has an entire like little computer system in the inside of it. So if you were to go into the back panel and look at it, it has all kinds of sensors for counting tool use and telling you where it's located at that time, checking on the water level in the tank, the voltage for the battery, everything. So it has a full software and data plan. It's constantly giving you updates. Each tool has sensors that record their use when they're going in and out. And you can see the battery level, tank storage location, and other user tool data online. So you get your own online portal you log into, and you can see the real time for your unit. And I have some screenshots down below to show it. You can also get alerts for the unit. So it'll alert me if the tank starts getting full, or if it goes unreported, I get alerted. The company has an entire video series, like I've said before, plus apps, handouts, everything. You know, if you need a brochure to explain it to people, they have that on their website. They're constantly making additional outreach materials. You can visit them at cd3systems.com. Down below is just a screenshot I took when it was at the lower part of Pymatuning. Here on the left, you can see that photo shows this green dot here, and that's representing where the unit's done. I mean, where the unit is parked. And then if you look at the next photo, we can see it at Lake Wallenpaupack, and again, you can see the green dot where it's located. And then here's just a small section of the reporting area, but it says our tank levels for both units are at 2% and the voltage, which is good. So it's kind of fancy on that end of it. So it is expensive, but you're getting a whole nother set of tools on the inside as well. And that's, to me, it's helpful because we do education. We want to see what people are using it for. It's also because it is deployed mobily and people aren't checking in on it as much. It's a good way to keep tabs on it. So just to kind of go into what the company decided to do for how they're going to have their algorithm for counting the tool uses and also session uses, because I'm about to go into the data part of it to show you how much use it's seen, and I just want you guys to understand what it's counting. So tool counts have an algorithm built into the logic of the CD3 systems. To count as a tool use, the hand tools have to be both in and out for 5 seconds each. Now, to explain how that is, they are on these cords, and these cords have a reel that sucks them back in when you're done using it. So that's what I'm talking about, in and out. So people can't just walk off with the tools that are attached to the equipment, and they're on these reels that have these sensors. The lights, vacuum, and blower have to be on for 30 seconds and then off for 30 seconds to count as one tool use. So if you only pick it up for 10 seconds, it's not going to count it. So this is a conservative estimate to see how the units are being used. And then also, so that's how the tools are being used. And then you get a session use. So one person pulls up with their boat and leaves. How are they measuring that? So they looked at it from their past research, and it was determined that 3 minutes is the average time between the end of one boat cleaning session and the time the next boat pulls up and starts using the unit. So they want to see a break in the use of all the tools for at least 3 minutes before they would count another session. So again, we got the unit in 2021 and we were only able to get it to 2 lakes at that time. And it didn't even have graphics on it. Here's a picture of it parked at Beltsville. They did only bring it out on the weekends. They were worried about vandalism. So, and also if you see right in the middle between the tent and the unit, that's their other little post they have with a couple CD3 tools on it that they had prior to our unit visiting. And you can see the numbers without any graphics. People were going up to it and were using it. So I think that looks positive at this point, because I think most of August was Lake Wallenpaupack, and I think even half of September was as well. So with no graphics, just parked there, people were using it. Then in 2022, this is now our first full season with it. We had partners involved in locations that we had on our schedule to get it rotated to. So you can see that we started at Lake Wallenpaupack and we ended at Lake Wallenpaupack, but in between we were able to get it to go to a bunch of lakes in Bucks County. And then you're seeing the photo of kayakers using it. And this was at a hand pulling event where volunteers go hand pull European water chestnut. And then at the end, they were making sure they were cleaning off the kayaks that they used for that pulling event. So you can see that it can be used for all kinds of vessels. Looking at the data, we can see July was a great month for it. I have to make a note of it that during the season, it did spend some time out of late August and most of September, and you can see September is very low. Because it was our first year, we were waiting for the next person to grab it, but it had already left the one lake and kind of stayed at Bucks County Conservation District parking lot, I think, until we organized the next person to pick it up and get it somewhere. Again, this was our first year. We were trying to figure out how to get it to as many lakes as we can, but the timing didn't always work with everybody's schedule to move it around. So we did lose some time out on the docks, but you can see in July we had 90 uses on it. And we do have the graphics on it at that time. At the bottom, you can also see the tool usage too. And then 2023, this ended up getting out too because we had our conference in State College, and the DCNR employee was able to get it over to Pymatuning afterwards. So this is when the unit left the eastern side and went over the northwest side of PA. And Pymatuning has been great with getting this around to their local lakes and events. So here is some of their rotation you saw in 2023. And this is a group of people using the unit to clean their boat out. So we do see people are using this. This wasn't staged. This was real. Again, looking at their data, July was a great month for it. August was the next highest month, and they saw 326 people using it that year. So that was a really good number. That was a high number for all our data so far. 2024, it was still out there. Pymatuning had it, Goddard, Moraine, Conneaut, and Tamarack. Again, people using it to clean the boats. And then here's their date, a little bit down from the year before. And August actually was their higher month on this one. So maybe it had to do with the way they were rotating it. Every time you rotate it, it is taken out off a dock and put to a new dock that people have to get used to seeing. So you do lose a day or so doing that, maybe even more if it's sitting somewhere in between. And then after the 2023 season, we realized there was a substantial interest to keep the unit on the western side of PA. So they were pretty happy with it, getting it around. It was making its rounds. We saw good numbers coming out of it. But we also had the original partners in the eastern side interested in the use of the unit. So it was decided by the Palms board to look into getting a second unit to fill the needs on the eastern side. So in December 2023, we applied again to the PA Fish and Boat Commission's statewide public access grant for a second CD3 unit. We were awarded the grant in 2024, and we got our second unit at the end of the 2024 season. So this is just the board helping to unload it up at Lake Wallenpaupack. when it arrived. So in 2025, we had 2 units in use. You know, we liked the numbers that we had seen, and we were hoping to be able to double them. Again, this is a pilot program, and we're trying to figure out how to get more people to use it. It looked like um, they started using it at a couple different lakes over the western side. It made it to Lake Wilhelm in Mercer County, and then Lake Arthur and Butler County as well. And then on the eastern side, our eastern partners did really good in getting some new counties in there. So we ended up going back down to some of the same lakes again in Bucks County, but we also got Green Lane in Montgomery County and also East Bangor Dam in Northampton County before we went back up to Lake Wallenpaupack. And I have these screenshots you can see also from the unit. It shows you, so on the left, you can see it's at Pymatuning and Lake Wallenpaupack. The green dots are at the northern part. And then as the season moves on, you can see that the trailer was moving to its next location. And here it is down probably, I think this was at Montgomery County here on the eastern side. So you can always go in and see where your units are. And it's nice to see during the year to see them moving around as planned. So looking at our data, you know, July and August, again, were the higher months for the use on it. We saw a little bit less use for the Western unit than we had in previous years. So that's something that maybe some of the lakes that they were trying out weren't as active. And we can work with our partners in the winter to talk about that. The Eastern unit had a very good year. It was better than it was the last time they had seen that unit. So that was doing well for itself. And again, that's 268 people that used it for the season. You know, it's up to what you guys think is good numbers or not so great numbers. We're just getting into this, so we're seeing the jumps ups and down, and we're going to try to do some new efforts to try to increase those numbers. But to think that it sits there passively and people voluntarily use it, I think that's a good sign for what we're seeing in Pennsylvania, that if you provide something, you do have people using it. It's not being forgotten about. And again, this is just sitting there passively with great educational signage on it. And a unit that some of these lakes have never even seen before. So I do see that it's a positive to see anybody using it, yet alone to see numbers that are like 268 for the season. Again, you can look at the tool uses here on the bottom. And, you know, if you look at all the tool uses over time, you really do see a lot of them are using the air hose, the vacuum, and the plug wrench are the most popular ones. And here's a little bit of a closer look up as this past year on the tools that were used. Looking at the numbers overall, you have the total sessions that were done each year. 2023 was a big year for us. And it looks like our next best year, and it's still in use, is 2025. So the eastern side has done well this year, getting their numbers up. If you look at the average sessions, including 2025, which is still in progress, like we still have another month that people may be using these units, it's about 244 is average looking at everything. And again, most used tools are the air hose, vacuum, and plug wrench. And I'm going to tell you a little funny note here. Our plug wrench has been stolen from the unit twice. No other tools have been stolen. So if you are a lake manager and you're thinking about doing some kind of unit or something, maybe it's worth noting that people like the plug wrench. I'm kind of surprised by it. And that has become a pain for us to deal with, because the first time it was just snipped off right on the end, and you can easily replace it. They give you tools to replace it with, and a little clamper tool to connect it. The second time it got stolen, or no, maybe I forget if that was the second or the first, they cut it off all the way at the very edge of it behind the stopper for when it gets sucked back in on its cable, and it sucked in on the reel. So we had to replace the whole reel itself, which, you know, again, CD3's customer service, like they're top notch. They got us the reel, they worked us through it, we got it in, it's still doing sensors and everything. It was great. But that was the one pain to deal with. We have 2 units now, and it has not gotten stolen again. So that's a good thing, but also worth noting, people like plug wrenches. So something that you may want to add to your station if you're thinking about doing one. Does not have future plans for any more units. We are a small nonprofit, so this is a lot for us right now to manage these on top of our other mini grant programs, conferences, webinars, everything. But we would like to increase the use of our existing units. So we're going to work with our hosts to see if maybe we just need maybe more directional signages to help push them towards the unit. Maybe get signage before it shows up to kind of get people excited to use it when it's there. Maybe, you know, people can get more volunteers or interns out there to work with it. So these are things that we want to see if now that they're moving around, we have the partners, we know what to do, how do we get more people into it? So that's our next challenge. But I want to go into the other boat cleaning stations in Pennsylvania. Real quick, Pymatuning has 3 power washing stations. Beltsville has 1 heated power washing unit on a trailer, and then they have 2 smaller CD3 posts like I showed. Prince Gallitzin will have an operating power washing stations in 2026, and they will be similar to Pymatuning Station. And Raystown Lake is in the process of getting a power washing unit. So there isn't a lot to report on other boat cleaning stations in PA, but you can see the last 2 I mentioned, they're working on it. So like that's a good sign that there's going to be 2 more lakes that will have these. Beltsville, like I said, they started using ours. They have the posts there. They even have disposal boxes. Now the lake has a heated power washing unit on a trailer. And back, I think this was like maybe 2022 they got it. It was 23,000. So again, I'm throwing some numbers out here, but again, like this is just what I get through emails with people. So it may not be precise, numbers change. So just keep that in mind. You would have to price shop yourself to find out what it is. And also if they're federal or state, maybe they're getting other discounts as well. I'm just trying to get some numbers out to you so you guys aren't totally, you know, not knowing anything about what an estimate could be for these units that we're discussing. They did have staff shortages this year because of the federal cuts. So it did hinder them a bit to get it out to the docks. So usually the state employees, when they could help, they would get it there 12 to 6 on busy weekends. It has a 300-gallon tank, and they've done 24 boats in a day. Again, it is heated, it is power. They have to use it on the boats themselves. They can't let other people use it. The lake has hydrilla, so that was their motivation to do some of these cleaning stations. And the staff enjoy using it, and they think it gives them a chance to connect with the public to do the education. So for them, it's a positive. They do mention too, though, if you're not careful with it, you can damage the heating element. So you do have to be careful with them. So this unit obviously needs care, maintenance as well. Pymatuning Lake has 3 boat cleaning stations. They've been a partner with us, like I showed you with their CD3 unit. Their cleaning stations are stationary and they're hooked up to electric and water. Even with their current stations, they do feel the CD3 provides additional benefits. Its custom exterior wrapping helps with that education, and it can be deployed a bit sooner since it can handle some freezing temps. Pymatuning has done boat stewards as well at their docks, and these are people willing to engage with the people while they're cleaning their boats and, you know, talk to them about where they're going, where they've been, and do more direct engagement. So they have done that in the past. And then again, Prince Gallitzin, they're going with an unheated pressure washer system. They're going to do it in-house, and they're going to use the GLRI funds, which is the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, and they will be similar to Pymatuning stations. They expect them to be fully operational in spring 2026. They're just fine-tuning some settings, I think, and getting signage ready. They, from what I saw, they're looking at 26,000 for just the materials, which is the gravel sheds, power washers, lumber. Again, these are numbers that I'm getting on emails quickly by asking staff. Raystown Lake is in the midst of getting a power washing station. They chose to go for a skid unit that can be put in the back of a truck or placed near the dock. They felt this was the best solution for their lake, with invasive zebra mussels being a major concern. So I think they're in the middle of it now, so that should be something that they would try to deploy next season. Besides the boat cleaning stations just mentioned, there are some disposal boxes around the state, but it's still to be determined how much use they see. Here's just some information Sean Hartzell with the Fish and Boat Commission gave me on some of the ones that they installed, but they aren't sure if they're getting used yet. They'll know more as time goes, but it is, again, more education out there, place for people to dump their stuff and just to think about their actions and what hitchhikers they're taking with them if they don't clean, drain, or dry. And then real quick, for people who maybe this is a whole new topic, maybe you don't have invasives, maybe you do, but you're not managing them. I had to throw out some numbers that we see coming in with our mini grant program that we have paid for herbicide treatments for. Lake Alden, they spend 25,000 a year to control hydrilla at several sites in their 81-acre lake. Lake Towie, they have that yearly volunteer hand pulling event, but they also spend 21,000 for treatment to control the European water chestnut in a 50-acre lake. And then a 7-acre impoundment in Mercer County spent 3 to 5,000 a year towards a rapid response herbicide treatment to manage a 6-acre infestation of European water chestnut. Again, that was rapid response, so they had just discovered it. And definitely, if you're looking at the acres, it was just much smaller area to treat. So that's why you're seeing it different in the number. But they have been doing that every year since they discovered it. Prevention wise, the CD3 unit in 2024 cost approximately 40,000 for us, 1,400 because we chose to do the custom wrap ourselves through a sign company. And then Beltsville's, like I said, theirs was 23, and then Prince Galinson to do it in-house with materials was 26. And again, just an old quote, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think that's, fair to say here. We do, if we have enough time, I will go ahead and pull up another, let me see, let me get this video quick. On. All right. This is our unit in use at Pymatuning.
Kate, there doesn't seem to be any audio on your video. I mean, that's okay. I just wanted to let you know that. Okay, Kate, are you able to share your screen again? And you're just on mute again, Kate, just so you know.
Yes, I'm sorry, my computer didn't want to catch up again.
No worries.
Kind of paused
Okay,
on me. Okay.
perfect.
So yeah, sorry guys that we couldn't get the video playing on that. I apologize. I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna go ahead and pass this over to Mark at this time. Oops, let's go. What is going on? All right, give me a moment, Amy. That just did not want to play right.
Yeah, that's okay. If you can probably advance to your next screen for Mark and
Yeah,
skip
I
over
think
that one, you
it
should be
dropped my
fine.
PowerPoint presentation off. So
Okay. Just take your time.
yeah.
Kate, would it be easy for Mark to
I
share his
think so,
PowerPoint at
because
this point
it's
if you
it's
want
a
to do that?
Microsoft PowerPoint. Remember how before it was kind of doing that to me?
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Mark, are you able to
It's
share your
Yeah,
slide?
absolutely. I was just going to offer to do that. So give me
Yeah,
one sec here. Let me
great. We're
pull
working
it up
through it.
here.
sorry about that, Amy. I think it's my
Oh,
Microsoft Office is just not catching up.
no worries, no worries. Looks like Mark, I can see your screen just
Can you
fine,
see
so
it?
you can go ahead.
All right. Give me one sec here. All right. Can you see it okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Morrison. I'm the statewide public access program manager with the Fish and Boat Commission. For some reason, I'm not. Okay. My responsibilities at the commission is I manage 3 boating grant programs every year. 2 of the programs are a federal pass-through. They are the Clean Vessel Act. Uh, this basically funds pump out stations that we have them at some of the larger lakes and a couple up on Lake Erie and Delaware River. Another federal pass through that we have is our boating infrastructure grant. The boating infrastructure grant program, it provides tie-up facilities and support facilities for transient vessels. These would be greater than 26 foot in length, and they could stay at these facilities for up to 15 days. Um, We don't usually have a lot of applications for these. If anybody's interested, please reach out. The Boating Infrastructure Grant Program is currently accepting applications up until October 2nd. The last slide on my presentation will have my contact information, so feel free to contact me if that's something that you might be interested in. Our most popular grant program is our boating facility grant program. And I'm happy to announce that's going to be opening this week. Should be by Friday. And this is the program that helped Kate's team get the funding for their AIS machines. Um, the program overview, the purpose of the grant program is for the expansion and rehabilitation of existing boating facilities, acquisition of public fishing and boating accesses, and design and engineering of new boating facilities as well. The funding for this program comes from boat registrations, launch permits, state fuel taxes, and occasionally we'll get some federal pass-through funds when they're available. We'll apply for them. Since 2020, we've received 3 separate grants from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Those 3 grants totaled 1.6 million, and they have to be used specifically in the Delaware watershed. But we were able to take that 1.6 million and fund 10 separate projects out there. And the total amount for those projects was 12.1 million. So we were able to take 1.6 million and leverage over 12 million worth of projects. So it's a really good program, and we're hoping to continue that with the foundation. There's over 1,100 public access sites in Pennsylvania, and the Fish and Boat Commission actually only owns and operates about 220. So that's only like 10% of all the public access sites in the state. The rest of the 80% are owned and operated by these partners you'll see up here on the screen. A lot of times somebody, they'll get their boat and they'll go rolling into an access area. And as soon as they see this brown sign with the white lettering, they automatically assume that it's owned by the Fish Commission. But most of the time, it's not. If you want to, I guess the best place to access where our access sites are is you can go to the Fish and Boat Commission website. That's at fishandboat.com and go under the boating tab, and that'll give you a list of the access sites. Or you can go to explorepawaters.com. This is actually owned and operated by the Fish and Boat Commission as well. This is by our Bureau of Education. They run this site. I normally encourage people to check this one out first. It's very interactive and it's really good for new paddlers. So if you go to explorepawaters.com and then click on the Find a Waterway tile, then that's a great place to find access as well. One reason why I used this picture up here for the Klinger access area, this was a good example of, I got a phone call one day from somebody that was out getting ready to launch their boat, and they saw this sign. They thought it was a fish and boat site, so they called me and said, this site's really getting to be in bad shape and really needs some attention. I explained to them that this wasn't owned by the Fish and Boat, but I did a little more research and found that it was owned by Lewistown Borough. It's along the Juniata River in Mifflin County. So I contacted the borough and just let them know the concern that somebody had with this site, needed some attention. And they were well aware of this site needing updated, but they didn't know about our boating facility grant program. So I took that opportunity to talk to them about it and let them know, when the program was open, and just gave them some more information. Worked with them for about, I think it was the following year that they finally did apply. Worked with them to get their application ready, and I was happy to announce that we did award them $50,000 in this past grant cycle to update that access area. So they should be getting that construction done next year. Are eligible applicants for the boating facility grant are local government entities, that's townships, boroughs, municipalities, and counties, and nonprofits as well, land trust, conservancies, 501c3s, as long as there's a conservation focus, and watershed associations. Some of the eligible construction projects are developments of new boating facilities. And that picture you'll see on the right, that's a new facility that was opened last fall in that was in Camp Hill Borough in Cumberland County. They opened that, really turned out to be a beautiful project. Got that done, and you can also use the funds for expansion and rehabilitation of existing sites. So if you have a boat ramp and you would like to, put a dock or a gangway or that type of thing on it, then you can use the funding for that as well, as long as it has some type of a boating focus. Other eligible projects are property acquisitions, as long as you're buying that property to install something with a boating focus, a new access area or that type of thing. Portages, if there's a dangerous dam and you want to put a portage around it, you can use our funding for that. Obviously, aquatic invasive species, that picture up on the upper right hand part of the screen, that's one of Kate's machines up there. Design and engineering. A lot of times, if you have a larger project, they may come to us for one in the first year and get funding for design and engineering, and then come back in a following year and get additional funding for the actual construction of the site. Access roads and parking areas. Permanent restrooms are eligible for our program. On the bottom right-hand corner is a restroom that was opened up in Carbon County at Mauchunk Lake. We help fund that. Just as long as there's no seasonal porta potties. Porta potties do not qualify for the program, and signage as well. There is a funding match requirement of 50%. This can be either cash or in-kind services. Federal, state, and local grants, you can use that as the match. This is a reimbursable program, so the money has to be paid upfront, and then we will reimburse you after the projects are completed. Applicant responsibilities. You must own or have long-term lease of the property. That's for at least 25 years. You have to obtain the necessary permits for the project, keep the facility open to the public for at least 25 years, and the applicant must agree to provide for all costs of routine maintenance of the facility for the term of the agreement. It's important to note that these facilities are not owned by the Fish and Boat Commission when the projects are completed. After we receive an application, this is a competitive program. Yearly funding can vary. As I mentioned earlier, the funding for this comes from launch permits and boat registrations and fuel tax. So depending on how much we receive on them every year, the funding can change yearly. Once we receive the applications, they'll go into an internal scoring committee. That committee is made up by the Bureau of Boating, our executive office, our law enforcement staff, property services, engineering, and fishery staff as well. They'll all have their opportunity to look over the application and offer their feedback. After all the feedback's received, then we'll compile all that information, have some internal meetings, and discuss the projects. It's important that before you would apply for this program, to give me a call and reach out or send me an email, just so we can discuss the project to make sure it fits into our criteria before you would fill out that application. So the next steps is all applicants, they will be notified of the commission's decision to fund their project. We'll establish a cooperative agreement, route that for signatures, and then and you'll receive a notification to begin the work. It's important that you do not start this work until you receive a fully executed contract from us. At that point, you'll have at least 2 years to complete the project. After the projects are done, we just ask that you help spread the word when complete, offer some type of a ribbon cutting, social media release, and also we can do an official Fish and Boat Commission press release as well. And then after it's all done, the projects will just be open for public use for at least 25 years. So a compliment mission, yeah, a compliment missions to date. The program started in 2005. It ran for a number of years, and then there was a gap for several years. We've been running it every year since 2020. Since the program began, we've had 273 grant applications. The staff has reviewed and evaluated all the projects. We approved 146 of those projects. The total construction cost for that was 32.2 million. Our funding for those projects was 11.6 million, and the recipients provided matching funds in the amount of 20.6 million. I just break these numbers down so you can see that it's normally a 50-50 match program, but when it all comes down to the recipients receiving matching funds from other agencies, you can see it's over 50%. So. And that's about all I have for our boating facility grant. Like I said, the last slide on here will have my contact information. If anybody's interested in learning more about the boating facility grant, please give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to discuss it with you more. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the new regulations for the aquatic resources conservation. Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. I'll just give you a full disclosure. I'm not a biologist at all, but I'm just going to give you just a real overview of this. If anybody has any specific questions to AIS, please reach out to me, and I will make sure I get you in touch with the correct individual within our agency to discuss your AIS concerns with. The Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission is charged with ensuring the protection, propagation, and distribution of game fish, bait fish, amphibians, reptiles, and aquatic organisms, and with managing recreational boating in Pennsylvania. We manage over 50 lakes or impoundments within the Commonwealth for recreational fishing and boating use. These 50 lakes encompass about 10,000 acres of water surface. Chapters 71 and 73 of Title 58 of the PA Code were first publicized in the mid-1980s. These chapters address introduction and transportation of fish in the Commonwealth, along with propagation, prohibited species, and certain stocking provisions. A comprehensive rewrite was needed and went into effect January 1st of 2024 to address current aquatic resource issues. The purpose of the rewrite was to prevent the spread of invasive species and disease vectors, help sustain healthy fisheries, the lack of watercraft inspection requirements, and to help improve fisheries management. Education and enforcement regarding this legislation is crucial in reducing the risk of further spreading AIS in Pennsylvania. Here's some examples of some aquatic invasive species. You got zebra mussels and white perch in Racetown Lake. Kate had mentioned the Racetown is going to be putting in an AIS machine because of the zebra mussels. Flathead catfish in the Susquehanna and Delaware River basins, and gill lice and trout. A comprehensive AIS study was completed in 2023. This project surveyed 14 lakes managed by PA Fish and Boat Commission in 3 major watersheds. That's the Ohio, the Susquehanna, and the Delaware. The survey had a major focus on invasive aquatic invertebrates, submerged aquatic plants, and non-native turtles. at least one aquatic invasive species was identified in each of the 14 lakes that were surveyed. You can learn more about this study. You go to fishandboat.com, that's our website, and under the conservation tab, and you'll find more information about AIS and this study that was completed. Part of the 58 PA Code Chapter 71A rewrite now legally requires boaters to remove any pieces of aquatic plants and prohibited aquatic species from boats and trailers before being transported off-site. The newly enacted statewide regulations requires boaters to drain bilges, live wells, ballast tanks, and other compartments holding water before transporting. Ensure the watercraft, trailer, motor, and associated boating gear are free of plants and aquatic organisms, and remove or open drain plugs, bailers, valves, or other devices to allow water to drain from the watercraft while transporting the boat over land. So that's just a real quick overview of the AIS rewrite regulation. If we have time for questions, I'll be happy to answer any. Or this is my contact information here. It's my direct office phone and my email address. Please feel free to jot that down and reach out to me with any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mark. And thank you,
you.
Kate, for each of your presentations. We do have a few questions in our Q&A. I know we're a little over time, but if folks don't mind hanging on for just a few more minutes, we can answer these questions. And if there's any other questions, we can try to get through those as well. So we had a question at the beginning from Oliver asking, would hot water be beneficial for boat washing, or does it still come with supervision and safety challenges?
Yeah, definitely it's going to be a liability thing for a regular person to use it. I haven't seen anybody willing to allow that to the public, so then they have to have staff. With different invasive species, the hot water is a benefit, especially like things like a zebra mussels that maybe have already attached to the boat after a day. So that's why we kind of say our unit is good for people who are kind of going in and out that same day. And it's going to be easier to remove some of the invasives from it. And the same would be with high pressure water as well. But if you start going into heated, yeah, you're really going to be dealing with a liability, and also the temperature settings, the heating element problems. Like, it would definitely have to be used by trained staff. So
Great. Thanks for that, Kate.
yeah.
We had a comment from Jennifer, and this was in reference to the CD3 unit. She's saying, this is so cool. I've seen these units being used by paddlers at the Shenango River Water Trail at Pymatuning. It would be cool for volunteer organizations to be able to follow it on a map or email an account to advertise planned boating and paddling events.
Okay.
Just to maybe keep in mind or follow up on later, Kate.
Yeah, sounds good.
There was a question from Ashley asking, what was the rough cost to replace the stolen plug wrench?
I don't know the exact cost because we bought a spare toolkit when we bought the they usually quote you a price for the whole unit and the spare toolkit and a cover. So I don't know. It was pretty cheap. I'm sure it was less than $20. But they actually covered the reel because they had never had something like that happen before. So they paid for us to get a brand new reel. But again, like I said, their customer service has been really good, and that was one of the things that they covered for it. But I would assume it's like you can go on wildlifeforever.org, and they have the same plug wrenches that we attach to the unit for sale, and I'm sure it's definitely under 20, maybe even under 10.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We had a question, does there happen to be any information on the introduction of the CD3s and reduction of aquatic invasive species movement? So basically the connection between the two.
No, and I wouldn't even know, even being a scientist in my background, I wouldn't know how to design that study to show. It's just too many factors to ever really figure it out. Our biggest goal is, I guess, just to get people engaged, and maybe you can start getting people's opinions or getting people more directed towards it and doing studies on if it's you know, doesn't have people directing it to it, if it doesn't have more signage, what you can see how user behavior changes with those efforts. But no, it would be very difficult to, especially with wildlife as a way that things could get transported as well. It'd be too difficult to run a study on it.
Sure. Okay. And then the last question, how do you choose the sites where you put the CD3 unit?
Right now, it's based on partners that have been trained and that we feel comfortable trailering it. So that's why we have multiple board members on the eastern side here, and it's their two organizations, Lake Wallenpaupack and Bucks County, that have been doing the trailering here, and they've been trained for like years on this. They know what they're doing, we're comfortable. And then the same with Pymatuning, they have staff that is so used to handling the maintenance of it and the trailering it. So we wanted to do more with it. We wanted to use trailering companies that would just do it for us. And that has gotten so expensive the way things are going anymore that it's not really a viable option. So we're kind of just sticking with the people who are comfortable and trained right now.
Great,
But I would
makes
love
sense.
if more groups bought them, you know, so that they can get them out too and take some weight off of us trying to get them everywhere. But, you know.
Sure. Well, hey, maybe today's webinar will be
Yeah.
that boost for people. You never know. But that's all the questions that we have. So again, just want to say thank you so much to both Mark and Kate for all the information that you presented today. If folks have questions after today's webinar, they can reach out to me and I can put folks in touch with either of you, depending on what those questions may be. So thanks again. Thanks to all of you who attended today's presentation, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day. But take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.